essentially the maternity benefits. What we'll do is, I'll quickly set the context, but before that, some house rules. For the next 90 minutes, we'll have the audio and the video off for all the participants, barring the speakers and the guests. I'll be sharing the slides. And if you have any questions, you can always post them in the chat. We'll take it up if we have the time. Given there are 4 or 5 presentations lined up, we will look at the time and then figure out if we can take questions or not. But do post them. Whenever we have the opportunity, we'll take them up. So once again, thank you so much. I'll just set the context. The context for this meeting is that, as you're aware, about 260 lakh women, deliver a child each year in India, and there is uncertainty over how they would cope with wage loss, nutritional requirement, health needs during and after pregnancy. And in fact, UNICEF this year has estimated that during the pandemic, which is still going on, India would have had 20 million children being born, which means that these children were exposed to a higher risk, added to already the existing challenges. So, as we all know, the government of India through Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana, provides conditional cash transfer of 5,000 rupees in 3 installments to pregnant and lactating women for their first live birth. And these are essentially provided to improve the health-seeking behavior, as well as partially provide for their compensation wage loss. Now, the PMMVY certainly has the potential to reach more pregnant and lactating mothers across India. In fact, for majority of the informal sector, this is one of the most critical programs by the government of India. Having said that, in the absence of, given the current pandemic, it's become very, very difficult for women to sort of access this particular program. And in the absence of such, cash transfers, it's likely that there would be severe impact on early childhood development and the human capital development of this cohort of children. This particular pandemic actually is also a great chance for all of us to increase or demand for an increase in public investment in health, as well as welfare of women and children. This comes in the backdrop of states like Rajasthan, who just started extending the benefits to second live birth. So it's with this aim that we are organizing a multi-stakeholder workshop for advocating a enhanced PMMVY or PMMVY 2.0 across India. Very quickly, the flow of the entire workshop would be that we'll have session 1, which is largely oriented towards research, where we have research around 3 states, which is Gujarat, Jharkhand, and Rajasthan, where we'll share more about our findings on the ground. The second session would be largely around some of the best practices that we currently have in implementation of PMMVY. And the last session, we'll reserve that for recommendations or going forward. What is it that we hope to see, especially given that the budget session is just around the corner. So that's the flow of the session. Like I said, if you have questions, do drop in questions on the chat. We'll start with our first presentation, which is by Dr. Nilesh and Dr. Isha Prasad Bhagwat. Both of them represent Tata Trust, and they'll be presenting their findings around around Rajasthan. So I'll just share the presentation. Just give me a second. In the meanwhile, thank you so much, Dr. Nilesh and Dr. Isha Prasad, for taking time out and sharing your learnings on this. Dr. Nilesh?
Yeah. Thanks, Mayur. Good evening to all. I would request Dr. Isha to set a context just for 1 minute, maybe, and then I can start. Dr. Isha?
Yeah, thanks, Nilesh. Good evening, everybody. Indus Action and Tata Trusts, the Indian Nutrition Initiative Tata Trust partnered to conduct the study on the PMMVY in Rajasthan. Tata Trusts has been working in Rajasthan since 2018. We started this project Making It Happen to strengthen the ICT system. It was called Project Making It Happen. We did it in Rajasthan and Andhra Pradesh. In Rajasthan, we worked in 5 districts, that is Alwar, Dausa, Dholpur, Tonk, and Karoli. This particular study was done in the districts of Dausa and Dholpur. Dholpur is an aspirational district and a backward one. Dausa is relatively forward as far as the health and nutrition indicators are concerned. So it was a study done in February and March of this 2020. We could not complete the study in its totality because of the COVID-19 lockdown that subsequently happened. But nevertheless, we managed to get some very good data, which Dr. Nilesh will be presenting for discussion. Over to you, Nilesh.
Thank you so much, sir. And as sir has said that we have started this project Making It Happen. So just to give a one-liner statement about the Government of India had launched many programs which are conceptually and theoretically very well done and executed. What we have lacking is the ground implementation failures. And so our program is about to make it happen. You have all the services on ground. We need to make it happen. So same thing, what we found in PMMVY as well. The conditional cash transfer is an excellent program, but there are some implementation challenges, some process challenges, which we will have a look in our findings. Next slide. Yeah, so just to give brief about our project, Dr. Isha has already said, ICDS is one of the best designed and the largest community health nutrition program, which we did in 2 states, Andhra and Rajasthan, 3 districts in Andhra and 5 districts in Rajasthan, and which has been ended in September 2020. And we have trained all the like 13,500 frontline workers in Andhra Pradesh, same number of frontline workers in Rajasthan. We have also treated severely acute malnourished children under the program Poshan 2. We have also trained panchayat, women self-help groups. So what we understood from our efforts was malnutrition is the problem which can't be solved just by one intervention. We have to have the convergence between all the departments, and community has to take an ownership about it. And when community can take an ownership, we have one center which is called Anganwadi Center, which can be a hub for all the programs where we can implement them. What Dr. Vinod Praul from Niti Aayog says that it is the last or the first real estate of government in a village. You will have, like a temple, you will have Anganwadi Center in each and every village. So our efforts was always around the Anganwadi Center. Next slide, please. And we believe on the demand and supply chain balance. So we did some demand side interventions where we want to raise community demands. Basically, if there is an Anganwadi Center, there is a supply, but community is not accessing, then there is no effort. We don't get results. Similarly, we need to strengthen the supply side also. So some of the interventions from supply, like we did capacity building, Anganwadi Center excellence and the model Anganwadi Center, activating the VHSND days and the ECC. Under demand side, we did some community-based intervention, some communication campaign, Chalo Chale Anganwadi campaign, and various other interventions. So that is the brief and the crux about our project, what we did. And under this only, regarding the PMMVY scheme, we want to know that what beneficiaries are doing on the ground. Government had done very good scheme, but whether that money is getting utilized for the nutrition of the mother during the 1,000 days or not. So coming on the study, next slide, please. Yeah, as Mayur has already said that it is being launched by Pradhan Mantri in 2017 to like show our commitment towards the nutrition, promote the nutrition among mothers and infants. So Dr. Isha mentioned that we conducted a study between February and March. Hopefully our data got collected before the lockdown, but the only limitation we got that the validation of the data with the Anganwadi Center had not been possible because the holy holidays, as well as after that the lockdown had imposed. And our study got conducted in 2 districts, the Dausa and Dholpur. We just selected these 2 districts because Dholpur was the aspirational and Dausa is non-aspirational, more towards urban. So just to see the difference between the aspirational district and the non-aspirational district. Next. So here, coming to the beneficiaries, basically. So we took all the beneficiaries, the beneficiary mothers who had availed the services, their mother-in-laws, the other women who had not availed the services, the non-beneficiary mother-in-laws, husbands, frontline workers. So in total, we had like 490 of sample size. And as I already mentioned the limitation, we could not validate the records. And our approach was the mixed method. So we have quantitative as well as the qualitative questionnaires, which we used for frontline workers, and quantitative questions were used for the other beneficiaries. Next. Yeah. So coming to the findings, so our study was in the 4 domains, basically: the process related, behavior change related, awareness, and with the outputs of the scheme. So what we found in the process, that 35% of the women face challenges with the form. It has multiple forms we have to see, and largely regarding the husband's name on the Aadhaar card. They found if it is not matching, then the forms gets rejected many of the times. While the paperwork needed is minimal, but they need to submit the same papers each time when it is, which is not clear to the beneficiaries as well as to the stakeholders, which is like Anganwadi worker and Asha worker as well. And status of application, where is my application got stuck, why it got rejected, all those reasons are not clear. Even Anganwadi worker are clueless sometimes that what is the status of the application, why it got rejected, and all those things. Challenges with the behavior, basically. So less than 25% of women spend the additional money on dads. So it's just a conditional. Our main motive was that money will be like, maternity leave benefit, which we get in corporates, that women is on paid leave. So this is like our women in rural area goes for the daily wages. If she's has to take a rest, we have to give some benefit to her for her nutrition. But most of the time, they're not using for the nutrition purpose. Like expenditure continues mainly, and we all know it's a male dominant like states in rural areas, basically. So husbands and mother-in-laws control that where the money will get spent. Regarding the awareness, women registered the pregnancies at Anganwadis, but it was found that Anganwadi worker is the least aware about the program. It just becomes their one of the additional tasks. Like we know Anganwadi worker, apart from her 6 services, she has to do multiple tasks. If there is an election, if there is a Ladli Lakshmi Yojana, many other things she has to do. So this is one of the additional tasks for her. We have to give her money to the worker. That's it. She don't want to like spread an awareness about it because of her workload. And the 89% of the non-beneficiary, like women in reproductive age, are completely unaware of program that we have some scheme like this, which provides us some money for the nutrition during pregnancy. So challenges with the outputs, time off from the work has not changed. What we believe that pregnant women, like the corporate women, get 6 months maternity leave. The rural women who are working in daily wages should also get a time off during the pregnancy, and we are giving her daily wages, but it is not happening because if we consider and calculate a daily wages for a rural woman, it's like 200 rupees per day. Then in a month itself, she earns like 6,000, 5,000 to 6,000 rupees. And we are giving 5,000 rupees for entire pregnancy. So what we found that it's not sufficient for a woman, this amount to take a time off from her work. Next slide. Yeah, so the recommendation, I assume that Mayur, we are taking recommendation later. Yeah.
Correct. We'll take this up later. But thank you so much, Dr. Nilesh, for actually just sharing your findings about the study. And it's very, very interesting. Thank you, Dr. Isha, as well. Very quickly now, what we'll do is we'll actually move to Arushi. Arushi is a PhD candidate at Brown University, and she has masters from Delhi School of Economics. She had done a study in Jharkhand in 2018, and I'll just share the presentation. Over to you, Arushi.
Thank you so much, Mayur, for inviting me. I'm very happy to share the findings from the survey that I did along with Aditi Priya in Jharkhand in the year 2018. And unlike the presentation before, this was a survey that was essentially focused on asking fundamental questions related to the Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. Now, if you could go to the next slide, sorry, I think Mayur. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. the importance of maternity entitlement was recognized by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar as far as the year 1928, where he argued that the only way that pregnant and lactating mothers, pregnant and lactating working mothers in this case, can get sufficient rest in the prenatal period only if they are supported by the state in the form of maternity entitlement. Now, whereas there is a support system by way of the Maternity Benefits Act in the formal sector, about 97% of Indian women work in the informal sector, which is why they are essentially outside the sphere of the coverage of maternity entitlements, which is why arises the need for a scheme like PMMVY. Mayur, next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. Our survey, unlike the previous, no, the previous one, sorry, the methodology slide.
Sorry, is this the slide that you're looking at?
Yes, yes, yeah, that's correct. So methodology-wise, the survey, I must emphasize, was more of a qualitative piece of writing than a quantitative analysis. We visited 2 blocks in Jharkhand. First is Manika block in Latehar district, and the second is Khunti block in Khunti district. So these 2 districts are very different in that the Khunti block was mostly dominated by tribals, mostly Munda tribals, and Manika block is populated more by Dalit families. And we sampled this demographic in our sample accordingly. Additionally, Khunti block is also the block headquarters for Khunti district, which is why we found that public services were better available in Khunti than in Manika block of Latehar. We accessed the field through what are known as Narega Sahayata Kendras, which are essentially a bunch of the coming together of some local organizations that help people access their rights, not limited to Narega, but also PDS, their rations, and now what they've also included in their ambit is PMMVY. So this was a way to involve the community, giving back our findings to them so that they can use our findings to implement the scheme better. We interviewed about 100 Adivasi, Dalit, and Muslim women. Precisely, we interviewed 98 women. We did very long, in-depth interviews with them. We covered 12 villages in each block. What we did is that we went to the Anganwadi center in every village. We spoke to the Anganwadi worker and we got a list of all pregnant and lactating mothers in the village. So what that meant that only 51% of the sample respondents were eligible for PMMVY benefits, but we wanted to essentially talk to all the pregnant and lactating mothers in the village and not just the women who were eligible, in order to understand the lack in the eligibility criteria and how that can be meant in order to understand the needs of the pregnant and lactating mothers. Next slide. Just a little bit more about the sample in the next slide. This is the profile of respondents. So we basically, if you look at the table on the right, table 2, we oversampled women from scheduled caste and scheduled tribe communities. And if you see that most of the women are either illiterate or they have some high school education, which was about 21% of the sample. Next slide. Yeah. So this is the data that we collected, but I believe there is more detailed data on health and nutrition problems that are faced by women during pregnancy in data sets like NFHS, and we've provided a detailed account of that in our paper that was published in EPW in 2020. So we found that 61% of the women had problems in daylight vision. 66% had convulsions and 61% again experienced swelling of feet. On the table on the right, and this is sort of the highlight of our paper, because this is sort of one of the few research work that actually documents health expenditures simply on account of childbirth. Now you will find that the total expenditure just on health, going to a hospital, getting tests done, staying in the hospital, just getting to the hospital by way of transport, and the medicines that are prescribed by the doctor at the hospital, the total expenditure is 8,272 rupees on average. Now, this is way more than the 5,000 rupees entitlement that PMMVY scheme gives. And this is why, as we will come to the recommendations section, we forcefully argue that the rupees 5,000 is definitely not enough. And importantly, it is in contravention to the National Food Security Act, which prescribes rupees 6,000, a minimum of rupees 6,000 to every pregnant and lactating mother. Now, if you look at the reason that these health expenditures are so high, uh, yes, thank you. So, if you look at the table on the left, table 6, we have that 17% of the women were going to private hospitals, 44% were going to government hospitals, and this was mostly because access to government healthcare was very good in Khuti block, where the district hospital was headquartered. However, if you notice in Jharkhand, home deliveries were still at 38%, which is a very high proportion. Now, there have been reports that, especially during the pandemic, home deliveries have actually increased because women were not able to access hospitals during the pandemic, during the lockdown. Now, one thing to notice, one thing to keep in mind is that if you get an institutional delivery in a government hospital, you are entitled to rupees 400 from the Janani Suraksha Yojana. Uh, and given that 38% of the women pre-lockdown were already getting home deliveries, they were not getting access to that 1400 rupees, which would help them increase their nutrition. And given that these numbers have actually increased during lockdown, again, they would not get access to the Janani Suraksha Yojana benefits. Now, if you look at the table on the right, we want to actually emphasize that in the case of Jharkhand, as opposed to the case of Rajasthan that the previous presentation showed us, we found that the Anganwadi services were actually working very well. So if you look at part B of table 7, medicines, injections, supplementary food, information about postnatal care, information about family planning, information was not being given as well, but at least supplementary food and medicines and injections had a very high we had a very high proportion of respondents who actually received these services via Anganwadi centers free of cost. However, we saw that the Anganwadi center was not able to perform the informational functions that have been given to it by the government very well, also because the Anganwadi centers and the Anganwadi Sevikas are extremely overburdened. Next slide, please. Now, as has been discussed before, one of the major objectives of the PMMVY scheme is to account for wage loss that women face because of pregnancy, because they can't go to the fields anymore, so they can't help either in their own family production, or they can't work for a wage outside of their house. So it is very hard to impute wage loss because so many women in rural areas work on their own farms. So it is very hard to calculate the value of the wages that are lost because these women are not going to the fields. So what we do as a proxy is that we calculated the average time that women spent on various activities, including caring for elders in the house caring for children, cooking, cleaning, etc. And we asked them what was the number of hours they spent on the fields or whatever their place of work was before and after the pregnancy. Now, we just did a simple test of means and we found that indeed there is a difference in the average time spent uh, before and during pregnancy, even though we might contend that this difference is not enough. Like we still think that women were not getting enough rest, as we found that women were cooking or cleaning even on the day on which they started to go to the hospital to get that on the day of their delivery. Yes, finally, I think on the basis of these findings, we have some recommendations, but I think we'll come back to that later. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Arushi. I mean, this is very interesting. I think what Dr. Nilesh also mentioned about the time spent, which is PMMBY, one of their stated objective is for partial compensation wage loss. But unfortunately, seems like women do have to still end up working during and after pregnancy. And also the fact that the 5,000 rupees that you mentioned, which is the benefit which is given out through PMAVY, perhaps won't be sufficient given the expenditure. I mean, for the medical expenses as well. Dr. Nilesh, I mean, you raised your hand. I mean, do you have anything to say?
Hi, Mayur. I just posted a question in the chat box. If this is the time to ask a question, or are we taking questions later?
Yeah, you could go ahead and ask the question. Perhaps, I mean, we are on time, so you could just quickly ask the question. Yeah.
So Arushi, I just have a very sensitive question about the data. So regarding the convulsions and the swelling of the feet, which are pre-eclampsia and eclampsia prevalence, if you see the India statistics also, it is under 10%, like pre-eclampsia, and eclampsia is also like very rare in nowadays where we have institutional deliveries and all. So this is like a very serious finding where we are getting 60% of women having swelling on the feet and the convulsions. So have we verified these findings with the government record as well? Because it's a very serious issue in Jharkhand then.
Yeah, so I think we have in the paper we have actually not for also for convulsions. Actually, all three of these questions were exactly taken from NFHS, and in the paper you can find that in Jharkhand these numbers actually are very close, especially for these two districts in particular. So I can't comment on the total average in the district, but for total average in the state, but at least for these two districts, we confirmed this with NFHS scores. So not with government data, but with survey data from NFHS, and I think the figures are matching.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Arushi, and thanks, Dr. Nilesh. We have Pragya and Vagni, sharing their insights and their data on the findings in Gujarat. Pragya is a Pol Science graduate from Ashoka University, and Vagni is a graduate from St. Xavier's, Mumbai. I'll quickly just share your presentation, and then you can take it from there. Yeah, over to you, Vagni and Pragya.
Yeah, Mayur, we're not able to see the presentation, or I don't know if it's just.
Vagni, I can. Maybe you could wait for a second and see if it shows up. How about now?
Okay.
Because can see it.
Yeah, now I can see it. Yeah, I can see it now. Okay, cool. Thanks, Mayur. Hi, everyone. We'll be presenting the findings from our research done in Gujarat on PMMBY. Mayur, can we move to the next slide? Okay, so there were four major parameters for evaluation. We'll be taking these up in detail in the presentation later, but basically they covered what are the challenges in the procedure that has to be undertaken for registering for PMMVY and getting all the 3 installments. What are the awareness levels of the beneficiaries and their family members as well? What are the are they able to spend the entitlements that they get from the government on the intended purpose, or do they have freedom in terms of where they want to spend the money? And if we have seen any changes in behavior, especially health-seeking behavior of the women and their family members after getting the entitlements. So these are the 4 major parameters on which we based the research. Mayur, we can move to the next slide. So these are the types of respondents that were interviewed during the survey. Beneficiary, I'll just give a brief description of the respondents. Beneficiary mother, so these are the women who were eligible for the scheme and have availed the benefits of the scheme. Second, non-beneficiary mother, these are the women who were eligible for the scheme, but they have not registered for the scheme. Beneficiary mother-in-law, likewise, the mothers-in-law of the beneficiaries, non-beneficiary mother-in-law. And next, we have non-beneficiary father, husbands of the non-beneficiary mothers or the non-beneficiary women. We also interviewed the frontline workers who are responsible for making the women aware about the scheme, and the medical officers. Okay, we'll move to the next slide. Okay, so we found that this is in terms of form filling, and we've just presented a few examples. It can be, we can see the elaboration in the paper. About only 30.5% of the beneficiary mothers were aware that 3 forms had to be filled out under the scheme, which is a pretty low percentage. Even though these mothers have registered for the scheme, these women have registered for the scheme, and yet they did not know that 3 forms had to be filled out under the scheme. So awareness of the process doesn't seem to be very high based on this. My next slide. Right. So checkups happen to be, antenatal checkups are a mandatory condition for availing the second installment. And these are some challenges that, the women reported in getting the checkups done: unavailability of the doctors in the government hospital, or unavailability of the people, of the person who has to accompany them to go to the hospital, or just that they had to take leave from work in order to visit the hospital. So these were some challenges that they faced. Mayur will move to the next slide. Right, one. My previous slide. I think yeah. So one major challenge that was faced was document submission. The beneficiaries were asked, all the respondents were asked, if they faced any challenge with respect to collecting the documents or submitting the documents. And one major challenge that came out was that, they had to either apply for an Aadhaar card they did not have, and they had to get their husband's name added to the Aadhaar card, or after marriage, they had difficulties with changing their own name. So these were some of the challenges which were reported with respect to documentation. We'll move to the next slide. And these are the findings. So similar findings, but we asked frontline workers a similar question, and they reported that opening a bank account, a lot of women did not have a bank account, and they had to open a bank account in order to avail the scheme, and that was blocked. We'll move to the next slide. All right. With respect to the awareness of the scheme, with respect to the awareness of existence of the scheme itself, it was found that On an average, about 68% of the respondents were aware about the scheme. And if we look at just the non-beneficiary households, about only 49% of them were aware about the scheme. So, which is a pretty low percentage, which sort of, it shows the need for more awareness in the community. We'll take that up in the recommendation section. We'll move to the next slide. All right. So again, a similar finding, reasons for not being able to avail the benefit of the scheme. So of the respondents who were aware about the scheme itself, and this is just from the non-beneficiary households, it shows in opening a bank account and documentation related challenges were the top two challenges why they were not able to avail the scheme. Mayur will move to the next slide. All right. When respondents were asked if, what more information do they need about the scheme, more than 20% of the beneficiary mothers themselves said that they need full scheme information. So again, this just shows the lack of awareness. The rest of the details are here. Mayur will move to the next slide. All right. So just regarding the objective of the scheme, this is a level of awareness of the frontline workers. So about 52% of them said that the objective of the money, which is the entitlement which is given to the women, is so that the money can be spent on nutritious food and medicines for the pregnant women. Some of them said that it is to promote institutional delivery. So these were our findings, and next it will be taken up by Pragna. We'll move to the next slide for evaluation of immediate outputs. Pragna, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Agni. I'll cover the next two parameters, which is firstly the evaluation of immediate outputs. Here we measured the immediate impacts of the scheme, such as how the money was spent, the number of checkups, as well as the duration of maternity leave taken by the women. We see here that about 57% of the beneficiary mothers did spend the money on nutritious food. And the second area that they spent on was health, which includes their checkups and medicines and supplements for themselves and their child. Next slide. Beneficiary mothers were asked by what percentage their intake of nutritious food would decrease without the incentives from the scheme. And more than half of them responded that their intake of nutritious food would decrease by up to 50%, which is quite a significant number. And coming to the maternity leave, 67% of women also said that they continued to work until the 7th month of their pregnancy, and 80% of them returned to work within the first 3 months after their delivery. Next. Yeah. The women were asked about the frequency of their health checkups, and 94% of the women went for at least 3 checkups, which is a great sign. And the frontline workers also reported that the number of checkups has gone up by about 20% since PMMVY was introduced. The graph here shows that the Anganwadi and private hospitals were the most preferred health centers for the checkups, and we don't really observe a significant difference between the beneficiary and non-beneficiary mothers in this respect. Nearly all of the beneficiary mothers had delivered their baby at the time of the survey, and 100% of them had delivered in the hospital. They also said that they would have delivered in the hospital even without the incentives from the scheme. Next slide. Yeah, these are the responses from the frontline workers. About 70% of them believe that the amount is not adequate because if the woman is to consume nutritious food during her pregnancy and even after the delivery, the 5,000 rupees would last only about 1 to 3 months. Frontline workers were also asked about the period of rest after delivery, and more than 50% of them said that the women returned to work within the first 3 months after the delivery, and only about a quarter of the women took the adequate rest of at least 6 months. Next. Okay, sorry. And finally, the last parameter was to evaluate the more long-term impacts of the scheme with respect to decision-making in the household, as well as improvements in health-seeking behavior. So 51% of women were able to spend the money as per their needs, But again, we noticed that mothers-in-law and husbands are involved in the decision making, which means that they should also be educated on what the scheme is trying to achieve and how best they can support the mother. And 95% of the women who did withdraw the money themselves were able to spend it on their own needs and the needs of their child. But not all women manage their own bank accounts, as indicated by the graph. And here again, the mothers-in-law and husbands have a say in the matter. Yeah. Back to you, Mayur. These are all the findings.
Right. Thank you so much, Pragya. Clearly, I mean, across all 3 states and across different time periods, what we find is that information with the beneficiaries as well as Anganwadi workers is one of the areas that possibly requires work. And the other thing is that the pregnant mothers getting back to work very quickly and possibly not taking adequate rest, given the pressures of both medical expenses as well as the amount which is given out in the form of support is not sufficient. So, thank you so much once again. With this, I mean, we close session 1, where it's largely about findings on the ground in terms of implementation of PMMBY and the gaps. In the next session, I mean, we have Rajesh Bhangia sir from SIPSA, which is an implementation agency in Uttar Pradesh. He's the state nodal officer. He'll share some of the best practices that they've adopted recently to ensure that the implementation is much better in the state. So I'll share the slides with the audience, and over to you, Bhangia sir.
Thank you, Mayur, and a warm welcome to all the participants here. And it has been a wonderful presentation by all the 3 states and the surveys which have been made. And the efforts made are also, they are very good to bring the PMMVY on a platform and to share their experiences. Uttar Pradesh, as you know, is a very big state and a very populous state with 75 districts and 18 divisions. It's a misprint here, and 822 blocks are there, plus urban areas. I think there's a misprint here. So the population is about 22 crores. If we talk about a district or so, and then we compare with another state or so, you'll say that the state of India has the population of a district of Uttar Pradesh. So it is a very major challenge when you see the quantity, means you have to work on a large number of people, and then there you have to bring results too. Of course, you have frontline workers. We have got more than 1.5 lakh ASHAs, which are implementing the scheme on the ground. But this is also true that the work was given to the health department, and it was not a set stage like others where Anganwadis were present and the mapping was already done. So we had to start everything from the scratch, starting from the mapping of ASHAs. We didn't even know about the LGD codes and all. So the mapping was done. That was a big task here in Uttar Pradesh. Very few states are implementing from at the level of health department. The other platforms are there only for the ICDS, which is well managed, and they have a managed staff, and they have got the computer application software already installed. In the state of Uttar Pradesh, this was not so. But still, we carried on, and the state of Uttar Pradesh, as I can say, is doing well. with more than 36 lakh beneficiaries we have enrolled since 2017. When we see the targets of the other states, the targets are 10,000, 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs. So comparing it with the state of Uttar Pradesh, it is rather a very big target which has been given to Uttar Pradesh. Though we are hoping to get that completed by the end of March. If we say regarding the target, it is around 38 lakhs, and we have registered about more than 36 lakh beneficiaries, that is making up to 94 to 95%. The funds dispersed to are around 1344 crores, more than this, because they come in numbers, and which we are disbursing per day is about 2 to 3 crores per day. We had to have some strategies how to improve upon and how to cater the population. So we have a group of strong officers who are leading the program, and these 5 cluster officers, they have been given allotted 15 districts each. So that this strategy we adopted from the last year itself, that leaving alone to the CMOs and the district nodal officers will not help. The monitoring should be very strong, and the deliverables, we are 18% of the Indian target is delivered from UP. I'll say more than 18%, it's about 20% we are catering the target from UP. Still seeing the target and the achievements, we still are in the 19s and 20s, placed at 19s and 20s when we talk about target versus achievements. But our partners there with us, we started adopting different strategies, and our goal is definitely to come under 5 of all the states. That is our goal. Next, please. So what were the major challenges were that the computer application software that has been devised by Government of India is static, and lucky we had multiple reports, but there is not a single report which can cater the problems and the data, what to share, what not to share. So we had to devise some mechanism to share the data with the frontline workers, even to the data entry operators, to the ASHAs, the ANMs, where we stand. That was important that we should tell them. So we have got multiple reports. So we had these problems to how to compact it and bring it to the field, and let the implementers know what they have to do exactly. And there are some reports like inactive ASHAs, which are non-performing ASHAs, which are still not available on the CAS portal, and we have to request Government of India to send them to us. Then we would monitor them, and you'll understand that if it had been on the CAS portal, it had been more easier for us. Next. What was devised? Actually, we were wanting a system, a mechanism in which we monitor from the top level to the bottom level, and about all the parameters, key parameters regarding MO approvals, second installments due, third installments due, zero ashas and inactive ashas. So these were the parameters. We wanted them to be on the same page so that we can see them, we can discuss them. So what we did was that we developed a solution. Definitely, we got this idea from Indus Action itself, because we asked them to make this dashboard, and hard work was definitely done, and the first snapshot was given by them. But our capable team also developed one such dashboard, seeing how the dashboard can be developed. So this was an indigenous dashboard from one of our cluster officers, and this is a one-stop solution for all the PMMVY matrices, and it gives the monthly year-wise trends. It also gives the comprehensive rankings, and also give all the reports are there available, including the LGD code, etc. You can see on the right, you can see the PMMVY status report, and we have got a comparison also there from 28th September to 28th Jan. Means today also we had about 4 to 5 meetings, cluster meetings, as well as individual meetings with the districts. So this dashboard is an innovative, which which is helping us out to bring about a change, and we are increasing in many folds to bring about the improvements in the PMMVY program. Next. So as I told you, this is a monitoring and supervision tool, and this is data driven, and decision making is now very much possible. When you have the data and the statistics before you, you can definitely say what are the gaps. You can identify those gaps and plan it better. And we also have a MPR. We have an MPR, monthly progress report, which we circulate it to the commissioners, to the DMs, to the CMOs, and we let the whole system know that where we stand in PMMVY. So this was done by taking the help of this dashboard as itself. Because the DMs, CMOs, and DPMs, they are seeing this dashboard on daily basis, and the effective steps are being taken by the administration, the machinery, at all levels, I would say. So this is a very important tool and an innovative done by the state of Uttar Pradesh. Next, please. Now talking about the impact, as you see, there is a reduction in the third pendencies correction queues, and there have been increased enrollments. You can see this third pregnancy, which is now the graph is getting down and down and down. And now it is in the January itself, you can see that the slope is going down. So this is a positive result which is coming up when you see the impacts of the proper monitoring mechanism. Next, please. Like the other way, you can see the enrollments have increased to 36 lakhs, as you see. Which was at the end of the August, it was around 28 lakhs. It has gone up to 36 lakhs, and we hope another 2 to 3 lakhs will definitely do till March. We are proposing. Next, please. Another impact was about the correction queues. This has again gone down. with the help of, by the end of December and now in January, it is around 79,000. So the correction queues have remarkably, they have gone down, as you can see in the graph. Next, please. So you can just see how things have improved when we have got a dashboard, and we are proud to have this dashboard, which has been made by our colleague, our one of the cluster officers. And though there is always a teamwork which is involved in it, Indus has been involved. We had taken help from them as well. And the monitoring system has improved, and so has the results and the impact, as you see in the presentation. The management, I would say, is also very responsive, and they are very open to it. And we have also developed a helpline here in the state of Uttar Pradesh, which is again with the help of Indus Action, and that has also made some impact, and we are working on many of the strategies, like in the field of IC capacity building. And UP being a very big state, there is still scope of many more innovations to be done, and we are seeking for many other partners as well, because the scope is still very large. UNICEF and other organizations too are coming up to us, and we hope that we will give a better show. And we are trying that there is no first live child mother who is not getting the benefits of Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. That's all from me, and hope we are free if there are any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. I mean, I'm not sure whether you can see this, but I've just opened the live dashboard as well. If you could just help us run us through this, we have a couple of minutes as well.
Like you can just see this is the main dashboard on which you can see the districts and the block data, the state achievement. Actually, this state achievement that we have on this dashboard, it is a little less. That is, we have increased given the targets, that is an increased target to the district, that is about 20% of the target has been increased, and that has been given to the districts. And like you can see, the state members at the left hand side, we have the cluster members named state members, and we have all the districts, the blocks, the inactive ASHAs, active ASHAs, and improvement done. We have done a comparison here. And similarly, on the other dashboards also, you can, on the other pages also, you can see, you can go on the home page. We have made a criteria on the marking the key parameters. We have not said that there's only one parameter, that is target versus achievement, but the indicators, the other indicators are also there, like correction queue, second installment, third installment, and we have given marks for these as well. And the state members also, they can see where the 15 districts lie. We have given 15 districts to each of the cluster member, and their achievements and their how they are improving on it, that is shown on the dashboard. And we can, if you can see, this whole thing is percolated downwards till the last level, that is the block also. If you go to the home, you can just upwards, state at a glance, if you can just click this. Yeah, like this is state at a glance. If you click at the state member UC Pant, you will find the 15 districts with UC Pant. And you see, Panji, what the graph shows what has been done in the years 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19, and this is a comparison. You can see the target versus achievement. And if you click a district, if you click Balrampur or Hapur, Balrampur, then you'll get the data of Balrampur, the ranking, and just please go down. Then you can see the blocks as well. If Balrampur has 10 blocks, you can see the previous rank and the current rank, and all the indicators are marked here regarding their SO approval, correction queue, etc. So this is how the whole thing is being monitored, and this goes triples down downwards till the block level. So the blocks can also visualize where they stand in the state of UP. So meetings are being organized with the districts, with the CMOs and the ACMOs also present there, as well as cluster meetings are also organized. So we in this in the last month we organized about 65 virtual meetings. So that comes about 2 per day. If you leave Saturdays and Sundays, you can imagine what is the workload of the officers in the state, which are working day and night. I suppose they don't sleep even, and they prepare for the next meeting the next day. So you can feel the pulse how the government officers here in SIPS are working. So this is the whole change scenario that is working in a corporate style, and we are wanting that results come out. And as you would have seen in the slide, that we still want that we should come at least under 5. That is our goal. Let's see till how we achieve that. But people are working hard, and the whole state is working for it.
Right. So thank you so much, Rajesh sir. I mean, for sharing this. This is quite insightful. I mean, adding a layer over caste data to figure out which states, which district, which blocks are doing well, and being able to take decisions and then eventually drive impact. It's very, very helpful. Thank you so much. Now moving on to the next presentation. Unfortunately, I mean, one of our guests can't make it today because they're not well. They're not keeping well. And therefore, I mean, instead of using that time for that presentation, what we'll do is we'll straight away move towards recommendations. Perhaps what we'll do is we'll start with the same order. Dr. Nilesh, I mean, if you could start with the 3 recommendations or 4 recommendations that you made, I'll just share the slide with everyone again. Just give me a second. Yeah, Dr. Nilesh.
Yes, thanks, Mayur. So it was very nice presentation to hear from multiple states like Jharkhand, Uttar Pradesh and all. Thanks, Dr. Rajesh, for showing the dashboard and everything. So as we say about the awareness level about this scheme, the data findings which I shown from Rajasthan, the non-beneficiaries, basically, they don't have, the awareness about this program, basically. So we want to make a good awareness on this program, that why this PMMY scheme is actually all about. It's not only the cash transfer, but it's also for the, this cash is basically for the nutrition purpose. So for that, we need to build a capacity of frontline workers. Just don't treat this as another workload for you. You have to aware the population about what the scheme is all about. Again, this is about the stakeholders. Second, we want to build an awareness at the community level. So why the need of this program, how this fund can be utilized in better way, and involving the husband and mother-in-law from the start. Where we are involving the husband only when you need to have a Aadhaar card and the registration of husband, the name of the husband in the Aadhaar card of the women, so all those things. So we have to involve the husband from the beginning itself. And secondly, I would say that decreasing the processes and the paperwork. So if we have some clarity about where the application got stuck, we don't have to submit the papers again and again. And one more recommendation, which I am not listing here, is about the amount which we are giving to the women, basically, which is not sufficient. And for that, what is our motive that she should take a time off, take a rest and have a nutrition? So this amount is not enough. So we can always recommend that this amount level can be increased. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Nilesh.
I
What
just
we'll
want
do
to
is,
add,
yeah,
Mayur,
yes,
uh,
absolutely, sir.
just for the benefit of everyone, I'll second what Nilesh has said about the processes and the paperwork. See, I think it's high time the system got automated. You take the EMIs that we pay. I mean, it's all automated. Every month, just you deposit it, it gets cleared, or you get a loan from someone, it just gets cleared on its own. Paperwork should be done in the beginning, and after that, the subsequent paperwork, the kind of delays that is not expected in these times. PMAY is a very successful program. A lot of women have benefited, but I think we can cover more and more. I think nearly all the women. This paperwork is actually reduced. I mean, in these days, why should we have even paperwork, manual paperwork submitted each time? It can just be done once and then, the thing cleared. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bhagwat. Yeah, and indeed, I mean, this is one area where PMMVY can certainly improve. I'll now move to Arushi. Arushi, I mean, if I'll just pull up your slides as well. If you could share your recommendations, that'll be great.
Yeah, thanks, Mayur. So I think broadly the recommendations that I have from the qualitative work that we present, because if you get a chance to read the paper, we've presented a lot of case studies. All the findings are largely similar, and the recommendations based on that also I see have definitely have a common ground. The first is that the conditionalities imposed on the scheme, they are proving to be very exclusionary. It makes no sense to have the scheme only limited to firstborns, because as we've shown through our case studies that the number of issues that women face with regards to nutrition and health, it's not like they cease to exist after the first child. So we definitely think the first thing to do is to extend the scheme for subsequent deliveries as well. This and the second recommendation, which is to increase the amount based on the data that we have collected on very high health expenditures. This would also be in compliance with what is the National Food Security Act, which mandates that at least 6,000 rupees should be given to every mother. The NFSA essentially grants this as a universal right. So both recommendation 1 and 2 would be in compliance with the National Food Security Act as well. So it is very important to increase the amount from 5,000. Lastly, this goes to the last recommendation of Dr. Nilesh. It's that there we saw that there were a lot of implementation problems due to Aadhaar, because the scheme not only requires the massive amount of paperwork, not only requires the Aadhaar card of the mother, but it also requires the Aadhaar card of the husband. And there were a lot of problems wherein the Aadhaar card was in the maiden name of the mother, who had then changed her name after getting married, and her bank account was um, in her new name, as it were. And so there were a lot of seeding problems, also because we found, and this is consistent with the research done by Jean Drez and co-authors, and it's true in the case of PMMVY also, that there are a lot of seeding problems of Aadhaar with the bank accounts. So I think broadly speaking, and not in terms of implementation, but definitely just questioning the fundamentals of the scheme itself is very important. And in order to truly benefit mothers and cover for wage loss and the health expenditures, it is very important to expand the ambit of the scheme itself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arushi. I mean, clearly, extending this to the second born child or possibly even more will certainly help, more mothers access the benefit. So we'll now move on to the third, Pragya and Vagni, for you to share your recommendation based on the research that you've done. I'll just open up your slide as well. Right.
Thanks, Mayur. I'll take this one up. Hi, everyone. This is Madhuri. Uh, so the key recommendations that we found, I think they are very similar to the recommendations that have come before this. Right? Actually, the first 2 points are exactly the same. That the conditionalities need to be removed, uh, along with coverage of second pregnancy and removal of the Aadhaar card, which Arushi very clearly pointed out why it's an issue of the husband's Aadhaar card. The other conditionalities that end up causing some issues are that the order of installments can be reversed for 2,000 to be received first, and then the 1,000 rupees received at the end, even if we keep three conditionalities instead of reducing them to two. The length of the form, as well as the number of times documents are collected, are other conditionalities which we feel as a part of the logistical process that can be removed. The second recommendation that we've given is that we found as well is the increase in amount. Same rationales as provided before. It is not sufficient to cover wage loss. The amount of 5,000 is approximately equal to 1 month's wages. And we're looking at 26 weeks of paid maternity leave in organized sectors. So then again, there is a big contradiction in terms of the amount of money that is given. So that is the second one. The third recommendation is something that we realized while doing the field surveys and talking to people on the ground, that a lot of people are still unaware of the policy itself and its intended impact. And if we're looking at behavior change as the larger goal of women starting to increase health seeking behavior, that is not going to be possible right now with the way the IEC or the communication channels that exist currently. And so there should be meetings on regular intervals to increase awareness and particularly targeting behavior change, not just for the mother, the beneficiary mother, but also for the family. Because as we're seeing, there's a lot of impact of the family on the way the money that's even being received is spent. So that is the thing. And short and crisp awareness campaign should be held. So long ones, with a lot of times we realized during our study that the the mothers or the family did not know the name of the scheme, or they did not know the 5,000 rupees, what was it called. So I think making it very short and crisp is extremely important. And what we just heard from Bangya sir around what is being done in UP is an excellent step towards increasing awareness, increasing accountability among all of the workers, the frontline workers in the government as well as the community. So that is something that will definitely lead to behavior change as well. Thanks, Mehul.
Thanks, Madhuri. Seems like, I mean, the three key areas which are emerging are essentially related to information, related to process, and lastly, related to coverage. So these are, three areas that will certainly help more women sort of access PMMBY. Bangya sir, I know that, we didn't like really talk about recommendations from your side, but aapki taraf se, I mean, do you have any recommendations for improving implementation?
I've got similar recommendations. Actually, there are a lot of issues when you come to Aadhaar correction, and means it takes a lot of time to get these corrected. Basically, the purpose for giving the money and the funds to the pregnant women gets defeated once it is not given in time. So timely payment is very important. Like when you are giving for registration, at the same time, the money should be given to her. And for the third kist in itself, it gets a bit like, you see, there are a lot of pendencies at stage 3 level. Okay, so the process should be made more simple. If there are less paperwork, less, when you register a person, means you have to find out ways how to simplify it. So and secondly, the mechanisms to, like the mechanisms of monitoring, the mechanisms that every women gets the the funds that should be made more simplified. And what I have seen from the other three presentations by the states as well, like the nutrition, the amount that is being rendered right now, that definitely needs to increase, and it should not be limited to the first pregnancy. Like that was the same, the thinking was from our management too, that if things are linked, health is a linked subject. It is a whole gamut of RCH, not limiting to ANC, or like you give something for the birth of a child. So it's totally an RMNCHA package, and you cannot exclude family planning as well from this. And when you come to first and the second pregnancies, there should be something means to fill up. Say, like when you talk about family planning, it still is a taboo in many of the societies right now. So encouragement should be given to that, limiting the period of pregnancy from the first pregnancy to the second pregnancy. The family planning should also be included as a part of the program, because you cannot leave alone. As you say, you have to definitely bring down the total fertility rate as well. And you have to have a balanced population. If not, the population, what we were talking earlier was the population needs to be stabilized. So that is also very much important, because you are working on the health of the child as well as of the mother both. So these are some of the things which should come out as well, and you can jot down, or the recommendations can be noted down, that family planning should also be included in the program.
Right. No, thank you so much, Rajesh Bhangia sir. Clearly, I mean, it has to be holistic. Along with focusing on pregnancies and birth, we should also talk about education and planning. So these are all very good recommendations. Thank you so much once again. As next steps, the closing remarks from me is that what we will do is we'll take all the learnings from all of you. We'll take all the recommendations from all of you. We'll put together in an advocacy note. We'll share this advocacy note with other CSOs, other individuals, and other non-profits working in this space, and taken their recommendation as well. Our aim is, in doing so, in collecting or in gathering all our knowledge, and as well as our recommendations, we'll be able to put together an advocacy note, which we can then present to the ministry on what we hope for in the future in terms of let's say enhanced PMMVY or a PMMVY 2.0. So with that, I'd like to thank once again all the guests, for taking out time and also sharing their presentations and their insights on the work that they have done. So thank you so much. And finally, I'd like to thank the participants for spending a good 90 minutes on listening to our guests. So thank you so much.
Hello.